170 million Americans are about to face the most dangerous weather event in decades. Right now, as you watch this, the National Weather Service has just released catastrophic impact warnings. Will your state be hit? Your answer is coming in the next 60 seconds. This is not a drill. This is not clickbait. The data I am about to show you was released at 3:45 this morning, and what changed in the last 6 hours will shock you. The ice accumulation zones have expanded, the snowfall predictions have doubled in some areas, and the Arctic blast behind this storm, it is going to lock freezing temperatures across the country for 2 full weeks. Here is what you need to know immediately. Power outages lasting 14 days are now expected in multiple states. Trees will snap under the weight of ice, roads will become impassable, and this is just the first wave. A second Arctic blast is already forming behind this one. Stay with me because at the 30-second mark, I am giving you the 3 states that will be hit the hardest, and your state might be one of them. The 3 hardest hit states, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. These states are facing over 1 inch of ice accumulation. What does that mean? Catastrophic is the exact word the National Weather Service used this morning. When ice reaches ½ an inch, power lines snap. When it exceeds 1 inch, entire power grids can fail for weeks. But here is what nobody is telling you. This storm has 3 layers. Ice first, then snow on top of that ice, then a second wave of freezing rain over the snow. This creates a concrete-like surface that is nearly impossible to remove and even harder to walk or drive on. Now, before we go further, I need you to do something. Comment below with the city and state where you live. Why? Because I am tracking this storm hour by hour, and I want to give you a personalized update for your exact location. The National Weather Service updates these forecasts every 6 hours, and some areas are seeing their predictions change dramatically. Let me tell you what changed just this morning. The ice storm warnings have stretched from northern Louisiana through southern Arkansas into northern Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, and portions of Tennessee. They now extend into northern Georgia and the southern Appalachian Mountains. Experts believe it could reach all the way to Asheville, North Carolina. Do you live in the South? Comment your city right now because the impacts for your area are coming up in 2 minutes. Here is a number that should terrify you: 70 to 90%. That is your chance of receiving at least a 1/4 inch of freezing rain if you live in the orange zones on the National Weather Service map. In the red zones, over 90% chance. A 1/4 inch of ice makes roads dangerous. ½ an inch makes them impassable. 1 inch causes widespread power failures. Let me break down what this means in real terms. Imagine your power goes out tonight. How long can you survive without electricity? 24 hours might be manageable. 72 hours becomes challenging, but 14 days? That is 2 full weeks without power, potentially in sub-zero temperatures. Your refrigerator stops working. Your heating system fails if it is electric. Your phone dies and cannot be recharged. Water pipes can freeze and burst. This is why preparation in the next 12 hours is absolutely critical. Now let me show you the snowfall projections, and these numbers have grown significantly. Montana and Wyoming are looking at several inches. Colorado, which desperately needs snow, is only getting 1 to 2 inches near Denver, but higher elevations will see much more. Kansas is bracing for 6 to 12 inches, with some areas potentially hitting 18 inches. This is the same storm system that will then move east. Oklahoma is facing a dangerous mix. Tulsa and surrounding areas are expecting 6 to 12 inches of snow combined with significant ice. This combination is particularly treacherous. The Oklahoma City metro area will see 4 to 8 inches of snow, but could also receive substantial freezing rain depending on temperature fluctuations. Here is where it gets interesting. Missouri is looking at some of the heaviest snowfall. Kansas City could see 8 to 16 inches. Columbia, Missouri might receive 12 to 18 inches. Springfield is expecting 8 to 14 inches. St. Louis is in a complex zone where they could see 10 to 14 inches of snow followed by ice, creating an extremely dangerous situation. Arkansas presents a split scenario. Northern Arkansas will see heavy snow, potentially 6 to 12 inches. But southern Arkansas, That is where the catastrophic ice accumulation is forecast. Little Rock sits right in the transition zone and could see snow change to ice, creating multiple hazards. Let me pause here and address something crucial. Are you in Texas? Drop your city in the comments right now because Texas is facing something unusual. Northern Texas, particularly the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, is about to experience a dangerous ice event starting this afternoon. The freezing rain is expected to begin around 3 in the afternoon near Lubbock, reaching Abilene and Wichita Falls by 6 and arriving in northern Dallas-Fort Worth by 7 or 8 tonight. This freezing rain will continue for hours, layering ice upon ice. Here is the twist nobody saw coming. After the first round of ice, a second wave is forming. That means Texas will get hit twice. The first wave tonight through Saturday morning, then a second accumulation Saturday afternoon through Saturday night. This double impact scenario significantly increases the danger and potential for widespread power outages. Southern Texas is not escaping either. Even areas that rarely see freezing weather have extreme cold warnings posted. This Arctic air mass is so powerful it will push freezing temperatures as far south as the Rio Grande Valley. Tennessee is in a particularly vulnerable position. Memphis is looking at significant ice accumulation with freezing rain expected to last for many hours. Nashville sits in a zone where snow could transition to ice and back again, depending on exact temperature profiles. Knoxville in eastern Tennessee will likely see a mix of snow and freezing rain, with the higher elevations of the Smoky Mountains receiving heavier snow totals. Kentucky faces a west-to-east gradient of impacts. Western Kentucky around Paducah and Bowling Green is in the heavy snow zone, potentially seeing 10 to 16 inches. Central Kentucky, including Louisville, is looking at 8 to 14 inches of snow. Eastern Kentucky will see less snow but could experience freezing rain as the storm system evolves. Now, at the 5-minute mark, I promised you something. Here is the complete forecast breakdown for 30 major states, the information you have been waiting for. Starting in the west, New Mexico is seeing significant snow in higher elevations, with Albuquerque and surrounding areas getting continuous snowfall. Roswell and southeastern New Mexico are also in the snow zone. Arizona is picking up snow in the northern regions, particularly around Flagstaff and the high country, moving to the plains and Midwest. Kansas, as mentioned, is facing 6 to 18 inches of snow depending on location. Wichita is on the higher end of these estimates. Nebraska is getting Clipper system snow with amounts of 4 to 8 inches across much of the state. South Dakota and North Dakota are experiencing extreme cold warnings, with wind chills potentially reaching -30 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Iowa is looking at 6 to 12 inches of snow, with cities like Des Moines directly in the path. Illinois presents a critical situation. Southern Illinois is facing significant ice accumulation, with freezing rain warnings posted. Central Illinois, including Springfield, will see heavy snow, potentially 12 to 18 inches. Chicago and northern Illinois are looking at 8 to 14 inches of snow. But the real danger comes after the snow stops. Arctic air will lock in, creating life-threatening wind chills. Indiana mirrors Illinois in many ways. Southern Indiana is in the ice zone. Indianapolis and central Indiana are looking at heavy snow totals of 10 to 16 inches. Northern Indiana, including Fort Wayne, will see 8 to 12 inches, followed by brutal cold. Ohio is split between snow and ice dangers. Southern Ohio, including Cincinnati, is facing potential ice accumulation. Columbus is looking at heavy snow, possibly 12 to 18 inches. Cleveland and northern Ohio will see 10 to 14 inches of snow, with lake effect enhancement possible after the main system passes. Michigan is preparing for significant snow across the entire state. Detroit could see 8 to 14 inches. Grand Rapids and western Michigan might receive 10 to 16 inches. The Upper Peninsula is bracing for even higher totals, with some areas potentially exceeding 20 inches, particularly in lake effect zones. Wisconsin is in the bullseye for heavy snow. Milwaukee is expecting 10 to 16 inches. Madison could see 12 to 18 inches. Green Bay and northern Wisconsin might receive 14 to 20 inches, with locally higher amounts. Minnesota is facing the full force of Arctic air. Minneapolis and St. Paul are looking at 6 to 12 inches of snow, but the real story is the temperature. Highs for the next week may not exceed 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind chills could reach -40 to -50 degrees, creating extremely dangerous conditions. Mississippi is where the catastrophic ice predictions are centered. Northern Mississippi, including Tupelo, could see over 1 inch of ice accumulation. Jackson, the state capital, is in a dangerous zone for significant ice. The entire state is under winter storm warnings or ice storm warnings. Louisiana is facing similar catastrophic ice. Shreveport and northern Louisiana are in the worst zone with potential for over 1 inch of ice. Baton Rouge and areas north of Interstate 10 could see significant ice accumulation. Even New Orleans is not immune, with freezing temperatures expected even if ice accumulation remains minimal. Alabama is split north to south. Northern Alabama, including Huntsville and Birmingham, are facing significant ice accumulation, potentially ½ inch to 1 inch. This will cause widespread power outages and make travel impossible. Central and southern Alabama will see freezing temperatures but less ice accumulation. Georgia presents a gradient of impacts. Northern Georgia, including Atlanta, is in an ice accumulation zone. The Appalachian regions could see ½ inch or more of ice. This area is particularly vulnerable due to hills, valleys, and extensive tree coverage. When ice brings down trees in these areas, power restoration can take much longer due to difficult access. South Carolina is facing ice in the upstate region. Greenville, Spartanburg, and areas near the North Carolina border could see a ½ inch to ½ inch of ice. Columbia and the Midlands might see lighter ice accumulation but will still experience treacherous conditions. Charleston and the coast will see freezing temperatures but minimal ice. North Carolina is in a complex forecast zone. The mountains, including Asheville and higher elevations, will see significant ice accumulation, potentially over ½ inch. Charlotte and the Piedmont region are looking at a ½ inch to ½ inch of ice. The Raleigh-Durham area is on the edge of the ice zone with amounts uncertain but still dangerous. The Outer Banks and coastal plain will see less ice but still freezing conditions. Virginia is facing a multifaceted threat. Southwest Virginia is in the snow zone with amounts of 6 to 12 inches. Central Virginia, including Richmond, is in the ice accumulation zone with a ½ inch to ½ inch possible. Northern Virginia, near Washington, D.C., is looking at heavy snow, potentially 8 to 14 inches, followed by possible freezing rain. West Virginia is mountainous terrain, makes it particularly vulnerable. Heavy snow is expected across much of the state with amounts of 10 to 18 inches in many areas. The ice on top of this snow will create extremely dangerous conditions. Power outages in mountainous areas can last for extended periods due to difficult access for repair crews. Maryland is facing heavy snow, particularly in the western counties and around Baltimore. Amounts of 8 to 14 inches are likely. Some areas may see freezing rain on top of the snow, complicating the situation. Delaware is in a transitional zone. Initial snow could change to freezing rain and then possibly to rain as a warm nose pushes through. This means icing may be less severe than originally forecast, but the situation remains fluid and dangerous. Pennsylvania is bracing for major impacts. Philadelphia is looking at heavy snow, possibly 8 to 14 inches. Pittsburgh in western Pennsylvania could see 10 to 16 inches. State College in central Pennsylvania might receive 12 to 18 inches. The variation depends on the exact track of the storm system. New Jersey splits north to south. Northern New Jersey is expecting heavy snow, potentially 10 to 16 inches. Central New Jersey might see 8 to 14 inches. Southern New Jersey is in the transitional zone where rain could mix in, reducing snow totals but creating icing potential. New York is preparing for significant snowfall across most of the state. New York City and Long Island are looking at 10 to 18 inches of snow, making this a major winter storm for the metro area. Albany and eastern New York could see 12 to 20 inches. Buffalo and western New York will see heavy snow from the main system, followed by extensive lake-effect snow, potentially adding another 12 to 18 inches on top of the main storm total. Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts are all in line for significant snowfall. Hartford could see 12 to 18 inches. Providence is expecting 10 to 16 inches. Boston is looking at 12 to 20 inches with higher amounts possible north and west of the city. This will be one of the biggest snowstorms of the season for New England. Vermont and New Hampshire are bracing for heavy snow throughout both states. Burlington could see 14 to 20 inches. Montpelier might receive 16 to 24 inches. Manchester, New Hampshire is looking at 12 to 18 inches. The mountains will see even higher totals. Maine is expecting heavy snow statewide. Portland could see 12 to 20 inches. Bangor might receive 14 to 24 inches. The intensity and duration of this snow will create significant travel problems throughout the state. Now here is what makes this even more dangerous. After all this snow and ice, the second Arctic blast arrives. The National Weather Service confirmed this morning exactly what forecasters predicted yesterday. For the Northeast, today will be your warmest day. Then temperatures plunge into single digits or even negative numbers for the next 2 weeks. Let me give you some specific numbers that illustrate how extreme this cold will be. Minneapolis could see high temperatures of -10 degrees Fahrenheit next week. Chicago might not get above 5 degrees for 7 consecutive days. New York City could have highs in the teens with wind chills near zero. Atlanta, Georgia, which rarely sees extended cold, might stay below freezing for 5 to 7 days straight. The wind chill values will be life-threatening in many areas. North Dakota and Montana could experience wind chills of -50 degrees or colder. These are temperatures where exposed skin can freeze in minutes. Even with proper winter gear, prolonged exposure becomes extremely dangerous. This extended cold creates a secondary problem. All that ice and snow is not going anywhere. Normal January weather might allow for some melting during afternoon sunshine, but when high temperatures stay below freezing for 2 weeks, that ice remains. Roads that become impassable Friday night might still be impassable the following Friday. Power outage duration estimates have increased because of this extended cold. Normally, utility crews can work around the clock to restore power, but when wind chills are -30 degrees, work becomes dangerous and slower. When ice-covered trees continue to fall on newly repaired lines because the ice cannot melt, the repair process restarts repeatedly. Here is the timeline you need to understand. This afternoon through tonight, freezing rain begins in Texas and Oklahoma. By tonight and overnight into Saturday morning, the ice zone expands eastward into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Heavy snow falls from Kansas through Missouri into Illinois and Indiana. Saturday during the day, the system continues expanding eastward. Ice impacts hit Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Heavy snow spreads into Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. A second round of ice and snow develops over Texas and Oklahoma, creating additional accumulation. Saturday night into Sunday morning, the system reaches the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Heavy snow falls from Virginia through Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York. Ice accumulates in parts of Virginia and Maryland. The system begins to phase with another piece of energy, potentially intensifying snowfall rates. Sunday during the day, the heaviest snow is over the Northeast with major cities from Philadelphia to Boston in the bullseye. A warm nose tries to push north, potentially changing some areas from snow to sleet or briefly to rain, particularly in Delaware and southern New Jersey. This warm nose actually helps some areas by melting ice, but causes other problems by packing down snow into a hard, icy surface. Sunday night, the system finally begins to move offshore. Snow continues over New England but winds down elsewhere. However, this is when the Arctic blast truly arrives. Temperatures plummet across the entire eastern two-thirds of the country. By Monday and Tuesday, the snow and ice have stopped, but the real danger begins. High temperatures stay below zero in the northern plains. Single digits are common from the Great Lakes to southern New England. Even Texas and the deep south struggle to get above freezing. This is when power outages become life-threatening. This is when water pipes begin freezing and bursting in homes. This is when vulnerable populations face serious risk. The Arctic air remains locked in place through the end of January and into early February. The Arctic Oscillation, a measure of how far south cold air extends, shows strongly negative values. This pattern keeps the jet stream configured to allow Arctic air to spill south repeatedly. A second cold blast, not quite as intense as the first, but still well below normal, is forecast for the first week of February. This means at least 2 to 3 weeks of sustained below normal temperatures across much of the country. The only break comes in the form of slightly less cold air, not actual warmth. Some computer models are even suggesting another winter storm could develop in late January or early February. The European model shows a system that would be too warm to produce much snow. But the American GFS model shows a scenario where another major snowstorm could track through the southern states, potentially bringing snow as far south as central Florida. This remains highly uncertain and is too far out to have confidence, but it shows how persistent this cold pattern will be. What should you do right now? I am going to give you specific action items based on decades of experience covering winter weather. First, charge everything. Your phone, your laptop, your tablets, any battery banks you own. Charge them all to 100% right now. If power goes out, you will need these charged devices for information and communication. Second, fill your bathtub with water. If you lose power, you may lose water pressure, especially if you have a well. That bathtub of water can be used for flushing toilets, washing, and, in emergency situations, drinking after boiling or treating. Third, check your food supply. Do you have enough food to last 14 days without going to the store? Not just any food, but food that does not require cooking if you lose power. Bread, peanut butter, crackers, canned goods that can be eaten cold, protein bars, dried fruit. Fourth, locate your flashlights and batteries. Test them. Make sure they work. Do not rely on your phone flashlight because you need your phone battery for communication. Get real flashlights and fresh batteries. Fifth, if you have a fireplace or wood stove, stock up on firewood. This could be your only heat source if power goes out. If you have a generator, make sure it is working and that you have fuel. Run it now to test it. Do not wait until you desperately need it to discover it does not work. Sixth, fill up your car with gas. Gas stations cannot pump gas without electricity. If there are widespread power outages, finding gas becomes very difficult very quickly. Seventh, move any medications you need from the refrigerator to a cooler with ice. A refrigerator without power will stay cold for 4 to 6 hours if you keep the door closed. A well-packed cooler with ice can keep medications cold for several days. Eighth, identify your warmest room. In a power outage, you cannot heat your whole house. Pick one room, preferably a smaller room with few windows. This is where everyone in the house should gather if it gets very cold. Body heat from multiple people in a small room can keep temperatures survivable even without external heat. Ninth, check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors. They may not understand the severity of what is coming. They may not be able to prepare on their own. A simple knock on the door to ask if they need anything could save a life. 10th, stay informed. Weather forecasts will be updated every 6 hours. Conditions can change. Routes that are passable in the morning might be impassable by afternoon. Do not assume you know the situation without checking recent information. Now, I need you to do something for me. Drop a comment below with your city and state. I am monitoring this situation continuously and will be putting out updates multiple times per day as this evolves. By commenting your location, you are helping me understand where people are watching from, which helps me tailor the information to be most useful. Also, share this video with anyone you know in the affected states. The National Weather Service does incredible work, but their information is technical and scattered across many local offices. By bringing all this together in one place, we can help more people understand what is coming and prepare appropriately. This is not a time for panic. Panic does not help. But this is absolutely a time for serious preparation and for taking this threat very seriously. The National Weather Service does not use the word catastrophic lightly. When they say power outages could last 2 weeks in some areas, believe them. When they say ice accumulations could exceed 1 inch, understand what that means. I have been covering weather for years, and I can tell you that this combination of factors, widespread heavy ice followed by heavy snow, followed by extended Arctic cold, creates a compounding effect that is genuinely dangerous. Each element alone is manageable. All three together, affecting such a large area of the country, creates a scenario where emergency services become overwhelmed and help may not arrive quickly. This is one of those events where preparation and caution can mean the difference between an inconvenience and a true emergency. Take it seriously. Prepare now. Stay safe. And I will see you in the next update with the latest information as this situation continues to develop. Remember, comment below with your city and state so I can keep you informed with updates specific to your area. This storm is too large and too complex for any single forecast to cover everything, but together we can make sure everyone has the information they need to stay safe, stay warm, stay